Greetings, my friends. How are you? I miss practicing together, but wanted to just have one more little practice out there as we are now past the 5th week of Lent and continuing on our wilderness journey together for just a little bit longer. This will probably be the last video for a bit, but my hope is that cicadas notwithstanding, maybe at some point we can gather to practice outdoors again, assuming it's safe to do so perhaps a little bit later in the season. So I'll be working towards that in the interim. But anyway, so greetings from the studio where I teach. Hope you're all well. For our little practice this morning, just have perhaps a couple of blocks or some books or something like that, some supports, something perhaps to sit on, a blanket or a pillow or a cushion. And then any other household goods. You can use rolled up towels, you can use blankets to support your practice. And we'll just do a couple of things today that I think we haven't done previously, including the foot massage at the end. And then I have a nice little poem by Mary Oliver to conclude our practice for this week. I'm just beginning here by finding a comfortable seated position. Maybe the hips are on the edge of a pillow or a blanket to provide some support. You can also feel free to use a chair if that is more comfortable for your body. And just taking a moment to arrive and greet yourself here. And as you take a breath in, expanding the ribs and the chest, and then slowly exhaling, letting something go here. And just know that the breath is a tool that you can always come back to, whether you're on the mat or off it in your daily life. And taking a moment here, gently opening the eyes, and bringing the shoulders up towards the ears. And then as you exhale, releasing them back down, creating lots of space. We'll do that a few more times. Inhale, drawing the shoulders up towards the ears. Exhale, release. Inhale, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And release. From here, we'll take a few rounds of sun breath since it's morning when I'm recording this at least. So on an inhale, bringing the arms up overhead. Exhale, bringing the palms to touch, hands back to heart center. Inhaling, palms come up. And exhaling, release. And then once more, inhaling, palms up. And then from here, instead of releasing the hands, interlacing them, turning the palms upward, just finding a stretch in the upper arm and the tricep area. And then bringing the hands behind the head, and then beginning to draw the elbows together, and then beginning to round the spine. On the next breath, opening up, separating the elbows, finding a gentle back bend. Just sort of like the flowers that are beginning to bloom now. Curling inward. As you exhale, releasing and opening. Taking a few more of these. And then releasing the hands, coming back through to center. Placing the right hand next to the right hip, bringing the left arm up overhead. Beginning to move the spine in all of its directions here. And then keeping this flow and movement here, coming over towards the left. And then back towards the right. And then over towards the left. And then beginning to bring both arms up overhead, lengthening the sides of the body, but still keeping the shoulders down. And then bringing your left hand to the outside of that right thigh, right hand behind you like a little kickstand. Using the spine, which has about 70 little joints in here, and using the breath to lengthen. And then as you exhale, just twisting a little bit towards the right here, gazing over that shoulder. And staying here for a few breaths. And on the next breath, come back through the center, bringing both arms up overhead. And then exhale, bringing that right hand to the outside of the left thigh, left hand behind you. And we'll twist toward the side as well. So inhale and lengthen. Exhale and twist. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and twist. And then slowly release. Come back through the center. And then beginning to walk the hands out just as far as they'll go. Doesn't have to be very far at all. But just again, continuing to move the spine in all of its directions. Finding a gentle forward fold here. Just sending the breath to the lower back or any other part of the body that may be talking to you. Then beginning to walk the hands back towards the center, bringing them behind you so that the fingers are facing forward, lifting the chest and sternum up towards the ceiling. Okay, just using the breath here. And then coming back through the center. And from here, we'll make our way into our tabletop position. So certainly feel free to pad your knees with a blanket or a pillow or a cushion. And then we'll begin in the more traditional tabletop pose here. But then, once we've settled in, beginning to walk the hands so that they come out in front of the shoulders and taking the knees a little bit behind the hips. And then just beginning to make some circles with the entire body here. So maybe coming forward, maybe spending a little bit more time on each side. Just beginning to bring some movement, some natural organic movement into most every part of the body here, at least the center, the whole core. And then beginning to go in the other direction. And then coming back to our more traditional tabletop pose with the shoulders over the wrists and the hips over the knees here. And just nodding the head yes and no for a bit. And then we'll transition that into our cats and cows. So on an inhale, shining the heart forward. Exhale, rounding the spine, gazing toward the thighs. Inhaling, drawing the shoulder blades down the back. Exhaling, puffing them out here. And taking a few more of these. And from here, having your blocks or books up front of the mat for support here, beginning to place this right foot up in between the hands, and again, the hands can come to blocks here. And just taking a little bit of movement, going back and forth. Bending and straightening that front right knee. And then come back through stillness here, placing your left hand firmly onto a block or a book, then lifting that right arm up, finding an open twist. And then slowly lowering that hand back down. And then from here, we'll bring this right knee back underneath the hip. And then placing this left foot up in between your hands and the two blocks. And again, just beginning to bend and straighten a little bit, just exploring the movement and finding gratitude for this movement as well. And then coming back and placing your right hand firmly into a block or the mat, lifting this left arm up and twisting towards the left. And slowly coming back down. And from here, turning the right back toes under, lifting the knee, and then taking a few steps or one large step to a forward fold here again, using the blocks for support. And then rooting down through the feet, coming back up one vertebrae at a time. Inhaling both arms up. And exhale, bringing the hands to heart center. Mountain pose, Tadasana. And just taking a moment to transition to being upright here. Maybe reconnecting with an intention for the day or for your practice, or just with yourself here. So from here, stepping the feet about a leg's width apart here. I'll remove the block so you can see me. And then keeping the feet just so that they turn out a little ways here. And then beginning to take our goddess pose, so bending the knees and bringing the arms to cactus arms and lowering down. Bringing some strength into the legs here and then straightening everything to 5-pointed star. Lowering back down to goddess. Coming back to 5-pointed star. And again, back down to goddess. And then from here, placing the hands just inside the thighs, above the knees here. And it doesn't matter what side you start on, but to bring a little bit of release to the shoulders, which often hold a lot of tension, dropping one shoulder. And then the other in towards the center here. Just exploring, focusing on the sensations, noticing what this feels like. Good. And then from here, we'll gently come back upright, placing the hands on the hips if that's easier for balance. And from here, heel toeing the feet back together. Finding our mountain pose, our Tadasana here. Standing nice and tall. And then stepping the right foot behind you, preparing for warrior one foot pattern here. So taking a moment to adjust on your back foot at about a 45-degree angle, knee tracking over that second toe. And maybe bringing both hips so that they're facing forward, giving yourself a little adjustment here. And bringing the arms alongside the ears. Lengthening the sides of the body here. And then lowering the hands so that they interlace behind you, dropping that fist towards the ceiling and finding a gentle back bend here. And then coming forward into Humble Warrior, just on the inside of that left leg. Calling that yoga as a humbling practice. And using the breath to come back up. Releasing the interlaced hands. Come back through to Warrior One. And from here, we'll open into Warrior Two foot pattern. So for this one, you want your front ankle sort of bisecting that back foot. And then bringing the arms so that they're even to shoulder height. And keeping the shoulders over the hips. And from here, we'll just do a little flow. So on an inhale, straightening that front knee, bringing the palms to touch. Exhaling back down. Inhaling, bringing the palms to touch. Exhaling back down. Once more, inhaling, palms touch. Exhaling back down. Good. And then from here, flipping your front palm upward, reversing the warrior, opening up the front of the body. And as you exhale forward, come to extended side angle, so bringing your left forearm onto your left thigh, right arm alongside the ear, and rotating the chest here. Using the breath to come back up. Staying for one more breath in our warrior, strong and compassionate. And then begin to heel toe that back foot in a little bit, and then stepping it back up to mountain pose at the front of your mat here, Tadasana. Good. And just taking a moment to pause and reconnect with breath here in our mountain. And then beginning to step your left leg back behind us. Finding Warrior One on this side, so taking your time, making your adjustments here. Again, back foot, slight angle. Keeping both hips pointing forward, so feel free to do a little self-adjustment here. I do them often. And then bringing the arms alongside the ears. Finding length in the sides of the body. And releasing the hands back down. Maybe trying the non-dominant hand on top this side. Taking a gentle back bend. And then coming forward into Humble Warrior here. Using the breath to come back up. Releasing the interlaced hands, bringing them alongside the ears, and then pivoting open into Warrior Two. So maybe making any little foot adjustments that might be needed here for your body. And then we'll begin to flow. So on an inhale, straightening that front knee, bringing the palms to touch overhead, exhaling back down. Inhaling, palms touch. Exhaling back down. Inhaling, palms touch. And exhaling back down. Finding our Warrior Two here. Soft gaze over that front hand. And flipping that front palm upward, reversing the warrior. And then slowly extending forward into extended side angle pose. So lots of length from the fingertips to the heel. And slowly using the breath to come back up through to Warrior Two. Staying for an inhale And then beginning to just heel toe that back foot in a little ways. And then taking a few steps or one big step up back through to mountain pose here. Good. And from here, we'll come back to a seated position. So again, sitting perhaps on the edge of a pillow or a blanket might be helpful to elevate the hips a little bit. And then finding a wide-legged position. It doesn't have to be too wide, just as wide as feels comfortable, having some blocks nearby. Good. And then we'll do a little stretch to help the quadratus labora muscle here in our back, as well as sciatica. So placing your right forearm inside that right leg. It may go all the way down. If it doesn't, use a block or perhaps a folded towel or something for support. And then bringing the left arm up overhead, and again rotating the chest. This is also nice if we spend a lot of time sitting here to move the spine a little bit. And use the breath to come back up through to center, and then playing with that on the other side. So moving the block over if you have one, and then sliding this left arm just inside the left leg, and then bringing the right arm overhead and working to rotate the chest here. And then slowly releasing, coming back through to the center. And then from here, we'll play with something we have not yet played with in this Lenten video series, the foot massage, which I know we all like from the live classes. So bringing the legs back and through to center and finding from here whatever sort of cross-legged position works for you. Again, a chair might be more comfortable. And then it doesn't matter what side you start with. I'm going to take a cross-legged position here, but again, you can use a block perhaps for support or something else. But take, again, whichever side is easiest for you, opposite hand and opposite foot. So I'm going to start with my left hand and my right foot, but you can start wherever you would like since you're in your own space. And then taking the fingers and then placing them between each toe, just to the degree that you can. Everybody's feet are a little bit different, so it may work a little different for some people than for others. And just beginning to make some circles with this ankle here. And then going in the other direction. And then releasing the hands where you've interlaced them with each toe here and taking both hands now and just clapping up and down the sole of that foot. Stay with me here if you're new to this. It does feel pretty good to give our feet some attention here. Good. And then once you're done, taking a moment between sides, just extend both legs out in front of you. Noticing the differences between each foot, the one that you've worked on and the one that you haven't. And then we'll begin to play with the other side. So again, just doing the opposite of whatever side you just did. So for me, this will be my left foot and my right hand. And again, bearing in mind that, as with all things in yoga, often no two sides of the body are alike, but just taking and interspersing the hands, or the fingers, I should say, between the webbing of each toe here. And then beginning to take some ankle circles. And then going in the other direction. And then releasing the hand here from the foot, taking both hands now, and just clapping up and down the sole of this foot. And taking a moment to extend both legs in front of you here, and finding a moment of gratitude for your feet, as they do carry us through not only wilderness journeys, but all kinds of other journeys as well as we go about our day-to-day lives. So it's good to give them some attention every now and then. Good. Now from here, we'll do one more abdominal pose and then we'll come onto our back. So if you're sitting on something, put whatever you're sitting on off to the side, because for this posture you'll want to be connected to the mat and to the earth, and I'll come to the side again. So we'll play with boat pose or Navasana. So beginning by just removing the flesh from the thighs here, just so that you're really, really connected into the mat here. And there are a couple of variations of this boat pose. So one is just to stay right here, keeping the heels on the mat and just working to lengthen the spine, drawing the belly towards it here, and just keeping the hands underneath the knees. And this is what one of my own teachers calls the Melo Navasana. This is a perfectly good place to be. So if you want to go a little bit farther, and bringing the calves so that they're parallel with the mat here, just noticing where the work goes, if it goes more into the legs from the core, or the full expression of the pose, straightening the legs, and taking the arms out so that the palms face upward. And if this gets to be too much on your lower back, then just come to either of these two versions of the posture. Both are perfectly good. And always, as I've said before, turning up the corners of your mouth in this posture is perfectly fine too. And then we'll come back down. And then from here, we'll make our way onto our backs. Keeping one block nearby, we'll do a little bit of both active and supported back bending here. So go ahead and make your way onto your back as you're comfortable doing so in your own space. And we'll play with a couple of active back bends and then we'll come to our supported ones. So for our active back bends, we'll do some bridge rolls. So bringing the feet just as close to the body as you can, maybe touching the backs of the heels with the fingers here. And a couple of options. So maybe you just, on an inhale, lift the hips and engaging the glutes and the back of the body. And as you exhale, come back down. If you want to take that and add the arms to it, lift the hips on an inhale and beginning to bring the arms overhead. And then exhaling back down. So either of those two versions, just taking a few more of these. Alternatively, you can stay with the hips lifted for a little bit longer if you want a more active bridge pose. And then we'll come all the way back down. And taking the block or the book that you have nearby, lifting your hips and sliding the block underneath your sacrum, that sacred bone at the base of the spine. And just taking a moment to notice any release here in supported bridge pose. Maybe from the rest of our practice or from the rest of your day. And then either staying right here, or maybe taking the legs up towards the ceiling. Maybe taking some time to point and flex the feet. In some elements of Chinese medicine, they say the backs of the calves are like a second heart in the body, and that will give them a little bit more blood flow here. Alternatively, you can take a wide-legged V with your legs, or just scissor them a bit, whichever feels right to you. Just do this for the next several breaths. And then you can pause me if you want to keep going here, but otherwise we'll slowly beginning to lower the legs back down to the mat. And if it feels right, you want to open up the tops of the thighs a little bit. Then walking the feet out a little ways, they won't straighten entirely, the legs won't straighten here, but it'll just open up the tops of the hip flexors here as a bit of a counter pose to supported bridge. And then walking the feet back underneath the knees, lifting the hips and removing the block out from underneath you and lowering the hips back to the ground. And from here, as we begin to prepare for relaxation, either drawing the knees in towards your chest and finding a little lower back massage here. Or maybe finding happy baby pose, taking hold of the outer edges of the feet and drawing the knees towards the earth. As you finish up our cool down poses here, I invite you to take whatever kind of supported shavasana in your own space is comfortable for you. So perhaps a pillow or something underneath the head and neck. If you're a little cold, maybe finding some long sleeves or covering up with a blanket or finding some socks. You can also roll up a blanket or a towel or a cushion of some kind and place it underneath your knees for lower back support. So just taking your time to find whatever version of this relaxation posture is comfortable for you. And then, again, you can stay as long as you want in your space here, and I will finish up with a lovely poem by Mary Oliver, and then ring the bell, and again, you can continue to rest as long as you need to. Most of us don't get enough rest these days anyway. This is called Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. And I think it goes well with our Lenten wilderness journey here. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you about mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Just a sweet reminder for you all that as we turn inside, we are already home. You are your own best teacher and have everything you need inside you. And I thank you so much for being here on video these past few weeks.